not the individual intelligence, definitely not, because individual intelligence can never be outshone by a collective intelligence by any means. But what you do in the whole process is you syndicate, right? And when you syndicate, you basically farm. Like what example, what Madhubai does in a Borivali, what Anmol does in a Bandra, what Tejpal Ranka does in a Pune. We syndicate that knowledge. We invest in understanding. And when we invest in understanding, we look at all parts that they mentioned, right? You look at the store, you look at the way they present themselves, you look at the way they serve, and you try and figure out the formula, right? Once you figure out the formula, what happens in the case of anybody who's actually trying to do this? You copy, right? When you copy, you start off with the base. After you start off with the base, what do? You figure out what's the next change that you want to make in order to move them. Now, in a wedding kind of a context, it is much more difficult to do this. One of the main reasons is wedding is one of the most high-ticket purchases that happens in a family's life, right? And that's where, unlike in the case of an organized player where the younger customers gravitate more towards maybe the branded so-called jewelers, the older generations come into the decision-making process. And this has been the struggle that organized retailers have had in terms of breaking that decision-making process. It's a very tough one, right? Nana nani aa jate hain, dada dadi aa jate hain, right? So when they come, they say, "Ha beta, yahi pe jana hai," right? So there is a set pattern that they follow. Ye lena hai, right? This is what we should pay. This is where we should go. And now there are 2 or 3 things, right? There is a trust. There is an auspiciousness associated with a jeweler, right? And then there is a guarantee of a certain value that they get. This is very tough to break. Now, if you take a Tanishq and what they are doing with the river, they're trying to put themselves into this realm, right? However, one thing that I think we all need to keep in mind when this is actually the milieu that we're working with is the customer of day before yesterday is not the customer of tomorrow. Okay? So I'm just giving my example, right? I'm 53. I am a person who does not have the baggage. My parents are with God right now, and therefore there's nobody to influence my decision-making process. So when I look at my decision-making process, right, it is not going to be in the same frame as the decision-making process of somebody who's got the benefit of their elders advising them. These changes will happen. And with these changes, buying patterns will change, consumer preferences will change, and there will be a shift. And that is exactly what organized retailers are banking on. Right? I don't know whether I managed to answer your question, but I'm trying to paint a broad brush here.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
My next question is to Tejpalji. We welcome you all the way from Pune. It was a tier 2 city. Now I wouldn't say so because now it's become so large and so big as Mumbai. It's impressive to see the development in Pune. But my question is, sir, what role does technology play in the customers that you're targeting? What is your target audience who are entering your store? And how is technology adapting to your tier 2 city?
So I think so technology is playing a crazy role. I think so there'll be 100 touch points where technology is playing a role from the moment the consumer, from the moment tapping the consumer to the consumer walking into the store till the end cycle is completed. There's so much of data captured. How we are utilizing this data is all through technology. So a simple example of what we are doing is when the consumer walks into the store, there is a registration desk where it's clearly asked what does the consumer want. So say he's given 5 products that he needs. When he's checking out, at the cash point itself, he's asked, why didn't you take the 2 things? Whatever he has to say, did not like the service, product, whatever. But he's countered there and there itself. So we've made it, we don't want calling later on, कि आपने ये नहीं लिया, ये आया है हमारे पास. All that stuff, because half the phones are unanswered. So we've implemented this. Another interesting thing that we've implemented when it comes to technology, we all have CCTV cameras, and we only utilize them when it comes to if there is any incident. So we have outsourced our CCTV cameras to a third party who are all special ability people. And we've given them a set of SOPs which they have to monitor. And at the end of the day, we get a very interesting summarized list, which we have integrated it with our performance management system, where at the end of the day, the staff, the consumer-facing staff, gets his report card about his performance. And not wait for the entire month how he's performed, say for a consumer experience. A simple thing like a namaste. If he did not, say in a day he's attended 15 people, 2 ko nahi kiya hai, it's fine, but 6 ko nahi kiya hai, there's a red flag. And we've integrated it smartly and it's working. So this is the way we have integrated technology.
What an excellent insight. Uh,
They monitor 150 cameras all throughout. No. So obviously I won't give my cash point or my safe, but consumer facing, it's all there.
Sir, on that thing, I just need to ask you again. Once you did that, how do you break that old school thought process where it says कि मेरा दुकान में क्या चल रहा है, it should not go outside. My competitors might misuse or use it against me. How do you break that old school thought barrier?
This for me, right?
Yes.
So, for example, if I take I'm the only person who outsourced the CCTV cameras. So I found out, yeah, I don't need to give my cash point. Achha, the people out there, they are special people. They are deaf and dumb. So they cannot be manipulated. They cannot be adjusted. And when I met the people, I felt that, this is a great deed I'm going to do and I'm going to get something in exchange. Plus, I'm going to stop looking at my camera every few times, kya chal raha hai. So, I think so, having an open mindset and just doing things because nothing is hidden as on today. So, yeah.
I think the sense of security, he's sharing it with all of us. He's not feeling insecure to say, hello, this is my idea now. 20 people over here already have that idea, including 3 people on the dais.
Agree, that's the point.
Excellent.
That's the reason why we are here, right? To share your experiences and what you're doing.
I've known you since long, and you've always been that open-minded, speaking about everything that you've known. Thank you. Thank you again, sir. Sir, Ishu sir, this question would be for you. Firstly, I would like to just acknowledge one thing, that you have made Anmol a brand when no one knew what branding was. And we from young age have known that. So we've already known you for your high-end designer offerings. So what strategies did you adopted to draw such a huge following of celebrity clients? Why would they choose only Anmol apart from all the options they had?
So I'll tell you, I can't take all the credit for this because I think the starting point was being in the right place at the right time. We were in Bandra, and Bandra was the place where a lot of celebs lived and they shop. And but I do feel that one of the major factors is, when you deal with, for example, one of our earliest clients was the Salman Khan family. And, we never ever had a short-term attitude. Attitude was always long-term. It was not how I can benefit from this association, how I can use him in, whatever else. So I think that genuineness comes across. And, you may think these celebs are just, not so intelligent people flaunting their whatever. They're very, very smart. They know exactly what you're up to. So we've built this relationship over a period of time because they've seen that, the person on the other side is not somebody with an agenda, And it's always a two-way street, so that I think is very important. The attitude has been very long-term, genuine, and the other person can see that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Excellent. My next question is to Anantaji. Sir, you're in the corporate sector. You've been part of the biggest brands in India, a Geo Business, Tanishq, Madhura Coats. I read somewhere recently where Lay's, the chips brand, knew 5 years before it launched the wasabi flavor that after 5 years, wasabi is going to be the major flavor in the world. I want to know, Anantaji, are Tanishq doing that too? Are a Madhura Coats doing that too? Isn't a geo business doing that too? Using technology, using data, using artificial intelligence to predict the design trends that might be there in the next 5 years and to adapt to them beforehand. Is that an advantage that you have over these family jewelers?
Okay. Very interesting question, but also very difficult to answer straightforward, right? So let me try and attempt at it. So first of all, yes, I think like Tejpal mentioned, the amount of data that is being captured at every point in everybody's life. Every time we go on to something that is electronic, we leave a footprint, right? When we browse something, we leave what is called an impression, right? When we click on something, there's a click-through that we are actually kind of exposing ourselves to. So every interaction with something digital leaves an impact. It's a data point, right? Now the data point can be captured in terms of who, where, how much, what, and also what not. For example, if they clicked on one but did not click on the other two, that means that they've selected the one for some reason, right? So all of these data points are actually now, today the world generates over 100 terabytes of data in a day, right? So that is the amount of data that's actually being put out. Now, this kind of data has been, I mean, okay, it's starting to happen in a lot of industries, but it's been harvested by some industries. Fashion, for example, has done it very successfully now with what they call color of the season. So who knew that peach fuzz was going to be the color of the year 2024, right? 5 people have predicted it. Now those 5 people have met with a remarkable amount of success because there is data that is being thrown out by WGSN and those kind of sites that are actually kind of now starting to predict, right? Similarly, there is data being harvested on consumer following on social. For example, if I am liking certain thing, if I am as a person liking certain thing, if all 7 of us, or rather if I include Ankit on the stage, if all 7 of us on the stage had liked something, the machine somewhere would know, hey, there is a group of people here who belong to the jewelry industry who have liked something. It's a simple way of identifying patterns, right? It's a simple way of identifying patterns. It's simple when you explain it. But when I throw pieces of electronic data at you, they have to be parsed. And that's where ML and AI come in, and therefore they're able to parse this big data. That is where Wasabi kind of impacts come in. That is where, for example, the move towards geometric or abstract design 3 years ago came in, right? This was predicted. It was predicted way ahead. And if you look at what actually has been happening to predict it, it's a gradual shift in the data points over a period of time, right? Now, it is not, again, and I'm just saying that for the sake of everybody here, it is not the domain of people like organized retailers who have access to this data. Anybody who wants to apply themselves have access to this data. I'm sure the gentlemen sitting with me on the stage have equal access to data, probably may be using it. They may be nodding at me when I'm saying something like this, but they're probably using it, right? So it is easy to access this data. Now, as far as you're saying it comes into an Agio or, see, there are hugely what we call responsive supply chains that are being built on the basis of this. Now, one part of the trend is to say that, okay, Wasabi was known 5 years forward, right? But today, there are things that are happening which are very, very close in nature to the timeline of impact, right? So, people who are able to build responsive supply chains, they quickly latch on to something, produce it, and mass produce it, right? If you have a responsive supply chain, you can truly benefit or harvest the benefit of an AI/ML. Because it can look at long-term trends, right? So what AI/ML has not been able to predict is how long will a trend last. They cannot, right? Because consumer minds, all of our minds are fickle. We like something and tomorrow we may not, right? So no machine can at the moment predict how long it will last. So your supply chain needs to be extremely responsive. So organizations that have been able to build the nimble supply chains, right, I think can truly take benefits of this. There are examples in a non-jewelry context that have already started doing this. Fashion, I think there is now generative AI designs that are coming in, right? Designers as a breed are now actually scared, right? They are scared because there are huge segments of both what you call leisure products and athletic products that are today being generated by generative AI. They no longer need designers.
So AI is generating the future fashion.
Yes, not only that. Okay, so let me explain how this works in some of the advanced countries and some of the advanced economics. You have designs that are being generated by generative AI. Based on past consumption patterns, it calculates quantities. It can calculate who's your preferred vendor based on vendor rating performances of your own data. It can generate a purchase order for that particular quantity, no human intervention required.
This is already started.
It is already happening. Okay? Now, it does make a lot of jobs redundant. Okay? The one area that I would be happy to say it has not yet made an impact is in jewelry. Right? However, and just a word of caution, in Europe today, generative AI is starting to make an impact in jewelry design.
How, sir?
So rings, for an example, right, where I think the amount of design interpretation, especially if you take out cocktail rings, the amount of design interpretation is narrowed down to a palette, right? It is easy to recognize and identify patterns. The key thing about generative AI is recognizing patterns. The moment you're able to recognize a pattern, you reproduce it, right? In anything, the other category that's likely to come into this is chains or bangles. Because again, you have a narrow palette in which design differentiation happens. The moment you have a narrow palette in which design differentiation happens, it's easy to predict and reproduce, right? So there is a move. Now, I don't think at this particular point of time, we need to be worried about this. I think the part that I would, let's say, take on for myself, because I'm an avid reader of these kind of things, is to say, how can we make use of it, rather than saying, how do I need to worry about it, right? So I think AI, given all of the stuff that's happening here, is here to stay, right? If a Microsoft can invest in a chat GPT, you know they are banking on the other side, right? So there is that move. And I think it's more important for us to understand what's happening and how we can make use of it than anything else.
So to sum it up, sir, you're saying that as a jeweler who's making chains or rings or bangles, AI is going to hit us soon. So maybe in India, I would soon know what will work in a Karnataka, in a Tamil Nadu, in a Delhi, in a Uttarakhand.
I'll
Is
go
that
so far
possible?
as to say in Karnataka, I'll be able to narrow down to Bangalore and Indranagar, because the IP address of the people there can actually be tracked much more accurately than I would ever be able to do it, than to say it is only Karnataka anymore. It is that narrowed down. Yeah.
I think
Didn't mean to scare anybody here, right?
it's
Put my
not
hand up,
about
honest
being
truth.
scared. Your insight on chains has made Khushbu really happy.
No, so he just said, chains ka future dekh lena. Yeah, I mean, that's what he said.
That's good, na? When you would know
That's what he
what the
said.
market will ask, you'll be prepared for it. That'll save a lot of time and inventory.
Yes, and Deepak, you're totally safe. One unique product.
But whatever happens, manufacture तो आपको ही करना है.
इसके लिए कहा ना, she is happy. She will know कि तेजपाल सर को किस मौसम में कौन सा चेन चाहिए होगा. So this question would be for you, Sameer sir. What key factors influence the consumer behavior in gems and jewelry retail market? And I would definitely ask you, especially to get the younger generation interacted and walk into your store.
So I can say what we do, because our industry is dynamic, it's getting more and more dynamic. There are pockets and everybody's doing lots of stuff. So again, what we do, we've been trying to do since some time is be digitally present, right? To have a digital presence to kind of show our designs and our offerings on Instagram or social media. We've been also trying to get more and more people from the younger age group into the decision-making process internally. Because what happens is typically when we are deciding, we are thinking from our own frame of mind and our own references, which might not hold true for the consumer of today. The third thing that we really do is, again, data, right? So we are all now thinking on two data points that have come in, but whatever data that we generate, right, for ourselves, and then whatever we can get it in terms of the consumer trends and all that, we try to factor in. Um, broadly, broadly, what happens is, Abhi, because of social media, international trends, right? Your celebrity space mein jo kuch ho raha hai and all that, whatever's trending there. Okay, and third are I would call them consumer lifestyle choices, but basically what kind of clothes are people are wearing when they're kind of going out and all that. Right, really dictates broader design choices that we make, and based on all these kind of factors, we try to be relevant for today's consumer.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for the wonderful insights. Now we open the floor to the audience questions and answers. There's somebody behind over there.
Tejpal bhai. Tejpal bhai, so you are a 140 years, 3 years old jewelers family, but I think your dads and uncles are managing the business. But once you told me you have a family constitution and the family is first, I think you also competed between each other branch also. But how are you managing this family and this family constitution?
Interesting. So, as I said, we've got 13 stores. We've got 4 stakeholders in the 13 stores. And so, when my dad was there, and he had just told me one thing, that if your customer goes to your brother or his customer comes to you, at the end of the year, if you will see, it's going to be few year extra or few year extra. So don't get into that. I think so you got a bigger game to play. And and that's the time we made a constitution where, we've set up certain rules that how we are going to handle the consumers, what's going to be the distance between each store. And so it's a very healthy game. Yes, there is a game. There's not a game, but it's a very healthy game. So all marketing decisions are taken together, all brand guidelines are done, all schemes are finalized together, the entire campaign is planned together. So like that, it's a healthy game, and it's better that we get together and fight with the world rather than fighting between ourselves. So it's a very clear mandate, and we all are really happy with that.
One more. A few months back, I was at Manubai and I saw that M Cafe. What a beautiful, fine dine cafeteria they have made for their staff. What was the thought, Samir bhai?
I think that very simple thought actually. What we thought was that, we are trying to kind of serve a consumer which is very well exposed, right? Abhi more than ever, right? I don't know how many of you have been to Borivali, and in Borivali, I stay in a very, very traditional lane called Roshan Nagar, okay, which is the most Gujarati traditional place of all, and now you have 3-4 cafes there, right? So, and all these consumers who pehle wouldn't have been exposed to anything like this are now, kind of have Starbucks or Third Wave or all these cafes or that culture is coming in. And we realized that if our team has to kind of connect with the consumer that they are serving, they need to somewhere experience somewhat similar, right? So that was one. And the second was, at the end of the day, honestly, team retention is a big problem, boss. So we said, chalo, Shanti se ek aadha ghanta, let them enjoy their lunch in peace in a good atmosphere, right? So, ek nishan, do tir, ek nishan, whatever you call it.
I think we'll ask our panelists, everyone here, this one small question of if you could say the top 2 things that you do for team retention, employee retention, what do you do? We'll start with Anantaji.
For me, the task today in my new company is very easy because I've got barely a handful of people under me, right? So I talk to them every day to make sure that they are actually kind of okay. And my job there is to solve their problems, right? So I think that's the way I define my job right now. I think these gentlemen have a far tougher task than me, given the sizes of the teams that they manage. My job's fairly easy.
Ah, we expected the best answer from you, actually.
It's the truth today. It may not be the truth tomorrow, but I think, yeah, it's the truth today.
So we run a very small survey every quarter and we check the happiness meter. And if anybody has a challenge, let it be anything, let it be a financial challenge or whatever, we try to address it as soon as possible. So just, besides this, if there is anything, that's another thing. But whatever we can do for our side, at least we try and take the feedback so we can do it for them.
Very nice.
So at Anmol, we honestly believe that the people who work with us, I won't even say for us, they are the backbone of Anmol. So, if you've noticed when there is this musical thing happening where the conductor conducts and there's a huge audience and people pay, huge amount of money for the tickets, the conductor is always facing the musicians. They are the most important people. The audience is important. I mean, they paid the money, but what kind of music the band produces is important, right? So for us, it's like that. At Anmol, we are very proud of the people who work with us. And, it's very unfortunate. I've seen this happening where a lot of people are not happy with their set of employees. There are people I've heard who say, "Arey, ye to mere gadhe hain." That's very foolish. You either don't employ them or don't call them that, For us, we have, I'm proud to say we've imbibed this sense of ownership. I mean, you come into Anmol and you'll see that our managers, literally, they think they own the store. And we back them completely. So that sense of ownership is very important. I think today we don't even think of retention. I mean, we're not doing it because there's a hook attached. It's out of genuineness. You are the backbone of Anmol and that's how we will grow and we will grow together. So that's how we work.
Excellent. Thank you. Do you want to add, Samir bhai?
Yeah, so I think here, I think we